Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tim Richards, Technical Services Manager of the Managing General Agents Association. And on behalf of the MGAA, I'd like to welcome you to our briefing this afternoon. This is being delivered by Inslee on the subject of debunking the myths of AI for MGAs. Before I introduce our presenters, I'd just like to run through a few housekeeping points. Please ensure your microphone and camera are turned off. If you'd like to ask a question, feel free to use the chat button at the bottom of your screen. Time allowing, these questions will be asked and answered at the end of the event. If we run out of time, questions will be answered after the event. This presentation is accredited for CPD hours if relevant to your ongoing professional development programme. The briefing is being recorded and a link to the recording will be issued post-event, together with the slides and our feedback survey. Please take the time to complete our survey. It takes no longer than 2 minutes and allows us to continue to deliver the best possible future events to our members. So today's briefing is on the subject, as I said, of debunking the myths of AI for MGAs from Inslee. So let me introduce you to our presenters, Alex Durham, Sales Director, UK and Ireland, and Hamid Mirza, Head of Growth and Marketing. Alex and Hamid are just going to run through their own bios and give you a bit of information about themselves. So let me, first of all, without any further ado, pass you across to Hamid. Thanks, Hamid.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tim, and thank you very much to the audience for joining as well. So welcome to our market briefing on debunking the myths on AI for MGAs. I'm Hamad. I've been in kind of marketing for around 10 years now, previously in recruitment technology, fintech, and now in insurance technology with Inslee. And I'm basically helping to improve the visibilities that MGAs receive a digital perspective, basically. So how they can improve their operations from a digital perspective and growing that brand awareness for Inslee, and making MGAs aware that digital solutions and AI solutions exist for those MGAs and for those insurance companies as well. I'll be introducing kind of the session on a very top level, covering some of the learning objectives at the start and then recapping some of those at the end as well. But yeah, without further ado, I'll hand you over to Alex, who will be our main speaker today.
That's great. Thanks, Hamad. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. So yeah, I'm Alex Durham, Sales Director for Inslee, UK and Ireland. 22 years in general insurance, around about 10 years of that now in the insurtech space. My primary role is to help MGAs adopt change throughout their business so they can kind of realize their full digital potential with the latest technology. So yeah, I'm going to be speaking today about some of the common misconceptions of AI in insurance and more specifically around the kind of benefits and use cases for MGAs today and the associated benefits.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. So we've set some provisional kind of learning objectives, so we can kind of promise some take-home points for the audience, for yourselves. And we've only got 4 of those to keep it relatively kind of top level. We'll start kind of by summarizing what the common misconceptions of AI are, the key benefits for MGAs when they're actually utilizing AI, some of the key use cases. So rather than kind of general consumer use cases where you've got ChatGPT and Bard, etc., use cases that are specific to MGAs, which are really helpful. And then we'll outline what some of those challenges are to actually maximize AI to its full potential, and how to overcome some of those challenges as well, because that can be quite difficult when you have limited resources or you're a small company, for example. But yeah, hopefully that is kind of a good synopsis to start off with, but I'll hand back over to Alex, who'll go over the agenda in more detail.
Great. Thanks, Samad. So quick intro to Inslee. If you're not familiar with us, we've been established for about 10 years now as an insurtech. We operate out of 4 different countries. We operate globally. We've got clients all over the world, 50 plus MGA and insurer clients, helping to run their businesses as efficiently and profitably as possible, all utilizing our low-code, open API and product agnostic platform. So I guess a bit more of an agenda here. So AI capabilities have accelerated quite rapidly. I think everyone will agree in the last few years, but I guess what does that mean for MGAs in particular? Why is everyone talking about AI, and what does it actually mean in practice for the insurance industry and MGAs as well? So as well as misconceptions and challenges and things, we'll look at some kind of practical real world use cases that can be implemented today, and we'll try and have a look at some of the things we can expect in the future and how MGAs can prepare for AI. Thanks, Matt. So, yeah, why is AI so important and such a hot topic? Why is everyone talking about it? It's quite a standout quote here, I think. So AI is the new electricity. So just as electricity transformed almost everything 100 years ago, today I actually have a hard time thinking of an industry that I don't think AI will transform in the next several years. So yeah, I think this is a really standout quote. I think AI really has become part of people's everyday lives, whether they perhaps realize it or not, with multiple devices that we kind of use around the home, like Alexa, for example. We might ask Alexa for the best recipe for dinner. My mobile phone will tell me when it thinks it should be setting an alarm for me. AI can write my LinkedIn posts. It can post an item on eBay and put a description, or it can read thousands of Amazon reviews and come up with a kind of headline, positives and negatives for that product. So things that just aren't kind of humanly possible there to replicate on your own. I could have written this whole presentation in AI. I did think about doing that for a while, but yeah, it's certainly clever stuff. Yeah, next slide. Thanks, Mad. So just moving on from why AI is so important and such a hot topic, but what is the kind of impact of AI on the insurance industry? There's a number of things here, really. I think it's quite far-reaching, to the point where actually, if insurers aren't thinking about adopting some form of AI, then there's risks associated to not putting plans in place of how to adopt it and how to use it. Some of those risks, for example, losing a competitive edge or poor customer experience, or leaving themselves open to higher fraud risks, to name a few. So let's dig right into some of the misconceptions of AI, or even myths of AI in the insurance industry. So there's a one-size-fits-all. No, not the case. Every business, every MGA, every insurer, every insurance organization is going to have their own processes and systems. So really, just like implementing any new kind of technology, you need to do proper discovery and analysis, and it needs to be carried out in the right way. Work out what the problems are that you've got first that you're trying to solve, before just trying to implement a new technology just for the sake of it. So certainly, proper processes and analysis need to be put in place before you implement any AI. Second one, AI will replace underwriters and, most importantly, people. I hope not, because if AI does get to that point, then I think we've got bigger problems to think about if it ever gets that far. So no, I think right now things like simple decision making for more administrative tasks, or simple changes to policies, to free up more human time to concentrate on more complex issues, I think is probably the best way forward here. I think still a human and AI collaboration in underwriting is likely to continue for many years and is the best kind of approach. Number three, I'm going to lump these two together actually. So AI is trending, so it must be implemented straight away, and it must be implemented across your entire business. No, absolutely not. So just because everyone's talking about it and says it's brilliant, it doesn't mean that you need to implement it all at once, because it's just going to be too much to take on. The best way is to kind of look at the problem areas of your business, to start small, think about some simple use cases, and you can start AI adoption on a smaller basis. So for example, like implementing a chatbot or something like that to take on some of the administrative tasks that you've got in the business. So next one, AI is too complex. Yeah, I guess it can be. But again, it depends on what sort of scale you're trying to approach AI implementation on. So, starting small, thinking about the kind of areas of the business that you can automate first without kind of trying to adopt it across every single department certainly is the best way forward. AI is only for large companies. No, not at all. I think there's benefits to be gained from companies of all sizes with AI if it's done correctly. And actually, I think if it's done right, then smaller companies like MGAs can get a much higher efficiency gain than the larger ones. AI is expensive. Yes, it can be expensive. Again, it depends on what sort of scale of you're trying to implement across and what's required. But again, if you're starting small and kind of building out from there and the AI adoption across the whole business, then that's going to be a more cost-effective way of delivering it. Then the last one on here, AI works with any data. So yes and no. AI can work with multiple data sets, so structured, unstructured, transactional. It can recognize images, for example, but the data does need to be of a high quality. Also, quantity of data is really important, and the relevance of the data to make the AI actually effective and get accurate results. Thanks, Ahmad. So going on from misconceptions, let's take a look at some of the use cases specifically for MGAs here. So number one, streamlining process automation, or should I say, sorry, streamline processes and customer experience. So yeah, absolutely. You can use AI to improve customer experience by taking on simple or administrative tasks, by implementing, as I mentioned before, like a chatbot, which is going to free up agents' times to assist customers with more complex issues and not leaving them to wait in a queue. Test and optimize renewal strategies. This is an interesting one. I know there are tools out there available for this that can actually predict when your clients are most likely to renew their policies. So by analyzing patterns and trends in historical data, for example, it can identify the optimal time to send out a renewal reminder, which is going to achieve the highest levels of retention. Speed to market. This is an important one for MGAs, of course. So getting products to market quickly and cost effectively. It's been improved a lot over the last few years with the kind of low code, no code environments that are available for building products. But using AI, this can actually be accelerated even further. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more on the next slide. Process automation with documents. So yeah, this is a great one, I think. So if I was to ask for a show of hands here of how many of you are still receiving quote requests, presentations, application forms via email with multiple attachments, so Word docs, PDFs, images, it's probably quite a lot, and you're going to be receiving it in the way that the broker's chosen, not the way that you want to receive it, which makes things even more tricky. So there's potentially huge efficiency gains here. So you're going to be eliminating manual data entry and rekeying, but also reducing the likelihood of errors with that those manual processes as well. And yeah, that particular use case we're going to dig into a little bit more on the next slides. Last two on here, so automated report generation. So obviously reporting really, really important, but AI can actually significantly streamline that process. You're going to get more comprehensive and accurate and timely reports through if it's used properly. But of course, reports are only as good as the data that you've got available, which takes us back to the need for obviously high quality data in this example. And then the last one on here, underwriting and risk assessment. I guess potentially more prevalent or important for insurers when you're sort of thinking about setting pricing than MGAs. But that said, I think there's certainly some benefits to be gained here from MGAs. You know, there's huge data sets out there available to help optimize pricing, reduce the risk of fraud. It's going to help with your loss ratios and profitability, so on and so forth. Thanks, Ahmad. Right, okay, so we've kind of covered a number of different use cases there. That's not an exhaustive list, of course. Just kind of pick some of the main ones that we thought were kind of on people's minds right now, solving lots of problems for MGAs. And then we're going to look at two more of the ones that we just talked about in a bit more detail. So we're going to take a look at a couple of videos. First off, we're going to look at how the use of AI can accelerate the implementation process of insurance products. So this is the whole speed to market benefit here, sort of even beyond what can be achieved in a low code or no code solution today. So in this short video, you're going to see basically how you can generate a product form from a text-based instructions, just like putting notes on a whiteboard. And yeah, it's using pre-fed insurance product data with an AI algorithm that can actually suggest what you've missed or what should be included as part of the process. Yeah, thanks, Ahmad. I think it sort of starts about 19 seconds in. Yeah, so you've got your kind of low code environment here underneath, and then at the top we've added a box. So this is your kind of AI chat box, if you like, where you're going to put in the instructions. You've then got an example of a property risk or a property product. You copy that information, and then you're going to say, please build me an insurance product based on that information that you've just copied. Paste it in, and then it's built you your product form. So yeah, that's obviously a simplified version of what could be possible, but that's the that's the whole idea, to make it just even quicker to get these products to market and get them built. Hamad, I think you were particularly impressed with that use case. I think you had a few thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing that, Alex. So what I'll do is I'll just play it again for the audience while I share my thoughts. So I think it's particularly exciting because in lots of cases today for MGAs and for insurance companies, especially when the teams are relatively small, you have to kind of key and re-key in a lot of information manually. So that's obviously, that process is pre-AI or pre-automation, for example. And when you're manually keying and re-keying that information, that can take a really long time. So here we use the example of kind of property insurance. If you did multiple product lines, for example, keying or re-keying that information could, multiply the amount of time it takes. So potentially that could take someone a day or a week, depending on how much information they've got to type in. So I think the fact that we can, show this example, which obviously, like you said, is a like an oversimplified version, but the fact that we can show this in a minute-long video is quite astonishing, to just show how far that we've come and how far technology has come as well. I think the pace of change is quite interesting as well, because we'll see this 1-minute video that we've just shown here to yourselves in our audience. One day in the near future, this will become the new normal, the new reality, instead of those manual processes. So I think what's really important right now is obviously educating ourselves and yourselves as in the audience as well. Just to kind of showcase that this is the potential of what could be the new normal. So yeah, there are a few thoughts from my side, Alex. Hope that's helpful.
Yes, brilliant. Thanks, Ahmad. Okay, great. So we'll move on to the second AI in action practical use case, which I think is particularly useful for MGAs here. So AI insurance. Has it moved on? There we go. Thanks. Yeah, AI document reader. So yeah, I think there's kind of huge potential here for this this solution. So as I mentioned before, lots of MGAs are still going to be receiving manual presentations and application forms via email, or it might just be plain text in an email with a request for quotes, or it might be just a screenshot or an image of an application form. So actually having the ability to process all of that information at speed and get it into the right format get it integrated with your quote and bind solution is a huge gain and a huge efficiency gain here, I think. So, so lots of potential for automation with this type of solution. So, yeah, do you want to play the video, Ahmad?
Yeah, there we go.
Great. Okay. So you'll have a system of some sort here where you'll have your document ingestion tool, if you like. So you can just drag and drop the application form that we've picked there, a commercial combined or whatever it was, application form, upload that in, and it's then going to analyze and decipher and extract all of the relevant information that you need in the exact format that you need, that your quote and bind or quote engine needs straight away. This is going so quick that I'm getting lost now with the the power of AI. The second one was an image uploading use case from a mobile phone. And then the third one here is an example of a natural language AI extraction. So that could be just a general quote request put in on an email. So you've got kind of three use cases in one there. There are other examples that we could go on to talk about, but they're potentially the three most important ones, I think, at the moment. So so yeah, a bit of a game changer there. It might take you 15 minutes to process a quote from downloading the application form and then copy and pasting it into your quote and bind solution. They've called a field something that you didn't want them to call it, and the description is slightly different, but this is going to automate all of that for you. So you could take it down from 15 minutes to 2 or 3 minutes or something like that. So yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Ahmad. Okay, so yeah, let's look at some of the, obviously we've looked at misconceptions and myths and things, and which is obviously important, but there are challenges as well to consider. This isn't an exhaustive list. There's just some of the ones that I think are important to consider. So number one, managing data protection and security risks. So AI it does require like vast amounts of data to function effectively. And the problem when you start dealing with more data is that it's going to raise compliance concerns about how you're using that data, how it's stored and things like that. So, in terms of preparing for the use of AI at scale or at any scale, really, it's a good idea to consider what the impact of that is on GDPR as part of your sort of early stages of considering implementing it in the analysis phase. Second one, integrating with legacy technologies. You're going to struggle to implement the latest AI technology if you're still running a policy admin system that's been designed in the 1990s. So it's probably best to have a look at your kind of core tech, your core infrastructure, to see, is it up to scratch? Is it going to be able to cope with the type of solutions in 2024 that you want to be running? So yeah, have a look at what your kind of core overall infrastructure first before you start thinking about implementing any new technology like AI. Yeah, resistance to change. So AI is still a relatively new technology, really, probably only the last decade, really. It's been around and been useful, I would say. So there's going to be, skepticism about the technology. There's going to be even fear that people's roles might be taken over by AI. So I think that one of the best approaches is to, again, start small, think about simple use cases where you can start using it effectively, and also provide some education throughout your organization as well, so that people can understand how it works and actually how it's going to make their lives easier, and it's not a threat to them. Data quality and availability. Yeah, I think we've talked about this a fair bit already, but it is really important to have the high quality data that's relevant for the use that you're trying to process it for or access it, because otherwise you're going to struggle to get the AI to work effectively and make the right decisions. Last one, compliance with evolving regulatory landscape. So yeah, I think this is a big one. So I think there's more, as we adopt more AI technology throughout insurance, as it's implemented more and more, the regulators are going to take an interest in it a bit more. So I think it needs to be used sensibly. And the human AI approach, I think, is probably the best way of using it, because otherwise it's going to become over-regulated. And then if it becomes over-regulated, it's going to be even more difficult to implement, and it will kind of lose its usefulness. So yeah, it needs to be used sensibly and carefully, to keep the regulators happy, I guess. Okay, that's the end of that slide. Thanks, Ahmad. Yeah, so that pretty much brings me to the end of the presentation. Yeah, I hope everyone found that useful and have covered off most, if not all, of these points here. But I think I'm going to hand over to Ahmad to just summarize quickly and then probably take any questions at the end.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. That was really good. So yeah, as I said at the start, I'll kind of recap some of these learning objectives and kind of summarize the session content in these 4 points, really. So at the start, Alex went through some of the misconceptions of AI. I'll kind of do 4 points per section. So the first one was kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. That's certainly not the case. I think every business is different, whether it's a different product line, or a different way of working, or different employee sizes, for example. I think that's really important. The second misconception was that AI will replace underwriters and people. That's certainly not the case. And we found in our own research, and our own due diligence, that human and AI collaboration brings the best results every time. Misconception number 3 is that AI is trending right now, as was machine learning 10 years ago, as was blockchain 5 years ago, so it must be implemented straight away. Again, that's not the case. It should really be implemented at a time that's right for you. And I think that's quite important. When you've got the capacity to take on a project like AI implementation, that's when it's the right time for you, not when you're, focused on kind of other areas of business, for example. And then misconception number 4, there are more, but I'll kind of cap it at number 4, is that you should implement AI across your whole business or your entire business. That's certainly not the case. We found examples where incremental implementation is often a lot better, because then instead of completely ripping up your processes for your entire business, you can do it department by department or process by process. And we've just found that that's much more effective, basically. So that's a summary of a few of the misconceptions. The key benefits of MGA is actually utilizing AI. This links with the objective below as well, but I'll cover it in any case. Improving speed to market, so to get your product to live, and getting it functioning and building it, for example, AI can massively speed that up. The first video that Alex showed us, for example, of the AI product builder, I think that's a fantastic example of showing how speed to market can change from maybe what it is today or from what it was last year, which was a very manual process, to the AI kind of implementation of it, or the AI product building, which is essentially the direction in which product building is heading in, which is a really exciting place to be. So improving speed to market is number 1 of the key benefits. Second one is also improving employee productivity as well. So getting them to use AI tools internally can be really helpful for themselves. They can kind of offload any manual processes and focus on the things that really matter, that should take up their time, rather than keying and rekeying information, as an example. And then the last one is improving retention as well. So where you kind of have renewals that happen every year, testing out emails that you can send via AI, sending it a day before, 2 days before, or 3 days before, as an example, you can then kind of A/B test across those or A, B, and C test across those 3 emails to see which which one will have the most success, basically, and absorbing all of those large data sets that you can kind of maximize on trying to improve your renewals and minimize or improve your retention as much as possible as well, basically. And then the last one is obviously it's reducing the time that you spend on those manual processes, but we've already covered that in a lot of detail. And then we come on to the third learning objective, which is describing some of the key use cases. So again, I'll cover 4 of the main ones. So the first one is streamlining a lot of processes and the customer experience as well. There's automation that can help to do that. There's chatbots that can help to do that for your customers, as an example as well. So instead of facilitating or one individual support person facilitating every single request from a customer, a lot of that can be done by chatbots that exist today or that are being built today as well. So that's quite interesting. The renewal strategies, as I've already said, the testing of the email sends 1, 2, or 3 days before. The third one is obviously, I've already mentioned this as well, but improving that speed to market. How is that done? I think that's really important. We showed the product builder, but it's really the technology specifically within the AI that sits behind that allows that to be facilitated, which is the no-code and low-code side of things. So that actually allows, it's more user-friendly. It allows people to actually do that themselves. And then the last one is automatically processing documents, generating reports, and analyzing those large data sets as well. There's some really important use cases there. So I think, even if you wanted to start with one of those and try your hand at one of those before you kind of tried everything, I think that's a really kind of good place to start, basically. You may be in a position where you've got tons of data and you can, and that data is of high quality as well. So starting to analyze that can help to, provide insights for the rest of your business is a really great place to be. Or you could be at the opposite end where you have a lot of things to do and not much data. So, I think there's kind of a solution for everyone, if you'd like. And then the last point that we covered was the challenges to actually maximize AI as an MGA specifically, and how they can be overcome as well. So we had a conversation and Alex shared his thoughts about kind of data protection and security. Obviously, there's GDPR to consider as well, which is quite important. There's the legacy technology integration as well. So if you are running technology that was, made and not really updated since the 90s, just as an example, trying to bolt on AI to that baseline technology that you already have might be quite difficult. So it might actually be better to focus on improving that baseline technology before you decide to start implementing AI into your processes. There's the resistance to change as well. I think that's quite normal. People, generally speaking, are quite hesitant to change into new technology. But I think, when it can be shown that it can actually supplement and help people to progress in their actual roles, I think that's really important. The data quality and availability, that is a challenge. I did say that about the last learning objective as well. If you don't have that, then there's also different things that you can try to implement AI as well. And then the last one was the regulatory compliance. That can put a stop to things, or it can prevent things from progressing in terms of how AI can be implemented as well. So that can always be a challenge, and it always takes a while for regulatory compliance to actually catch up to what's happening at the edge of technology and innovation, basically. So it's just one to watch out for and keep your eyes on. But yeah, ultimately, I think that's kind of it from us. We'd like to thank you all for listening, and we invite you all to ask any questions as well.
Thanks, Hamid. Thanks,
leave
Alex.
Alex's details here as well in case anyone wants to reach out.
Thanks both. Yeah, so we've got plenty of time for questions. We do need to run for at least another 10 minutes, so plenty of time to Phil, but also up to 25 minutes we can fill with any questions. So we've got really plenty of time there. We do have one question already. So any other questions, feel free to type them into the chat box now. It's an ideal opportunity and plenty of time to deal with them. So the first of those is a question for the end. Does Inslee have any out-of-the-box AI modules available?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I'll take that one. So the answer is yes, later this year.
Okay, great. So I've got a couple of questions myself. So maybe if you can expand on a couple of these, but also feel free to expand on any other areas you wish to or go into more detail just whilst we're waiting for some more questions to come through. So just wondered if you have any, without naming names, of course, any stories from partners which have transformed their businesses using AI, or perhaps it's still early days for that, but just wondered if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think you're right, Tim. It's kind of early days at the moment, and some of the things that we've been talking about here is certainly what's in development and what's going to be possible over the coming months. But yes, I think in terms of stories, what we've identified is MGAs are all very different. Some have quite, will run quite simple products like a property insurance product, for example, right the way through to kind of, complex Lloyd's and marine and aviation and things like that. So I think as we build more and more products and we kind of gather more and more data on how to build them as quickly and effectively as possible, then we're going to be in a really good position to be implementing change and building these systems and products for the MGAs even quicker than we can today. And at that point, I expect there's going to be, certainly more and more stories coming out of what we're able to do.
Great, thank you, Alex. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Hamid, at all.
Yeah, I think from my side, obviously AI is a relatively for a lot of people, especially within the insurance industry, it's a relatively new technology. And, a lot of people can consider it to be more of a buzzword than something that's actually quite actionable. So I think that's the whole purpose why we did this presentation or market briefing today, is actually to kind of educate our audience and the MGA's audience as well, to actually say that these solutions, if they're not available today, which a lot of them are, they will be available in the near future as well. So yeah, I think it's important to kind of share the awareness quite early on, and demonstrate what those capabilities are. So when those questions and when those conversations take place, for example, for us later this year, then it makes things a little bit easier, because we've already started creating that awareness and educating our audience collectively to say that these things are available. So I think that's what's important for us now. I think also it depends on who comes to speak to us as well. If you're a CTO of a company, you're probably more well-versed on AI and its capabilities versus someone who's non-technical, for example. So yeah, I think in terms of the people and the prospects who speak to us, it really depends on their personal level of knowledge on AI, and professionally, are they in the technology space in their company, or are they non-technical as well? So that would be my answer.
Thanks, Hamid. And question for both of you. Thanks, Angela, who's just sent this in on the chat facility. So for a small MGA, it can be a big investment. So are the larger insurers making good use of AI so we can get a better feel for the value you get out of it to justify the investment?
Yeah, I think they are. The technology is still kind of in its infancy, but for insurers, they're already starting to see big gains from the likes of having access to historical claims data, for example. So having access to that the AI can actually recognize patterns and trends and start to predict cases of fraud, which is obviously driving down the amount of claims and the amount of fraud, and improving the profitability of the insurer. So yeah, I'd say that's one example of how it's been having a big impact on insurers. It's obviously for an insurer, adopting AI and implementing it at scale is a large task. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to implement. It takes quite a long time. But you don't have to think about implementing it in such a large scale across an MGA. And that use case of, predicting fraud perhaps isn't the most relevant for an MGA anyway. So again, you look at some of the use cases we talked about in this presentation. You could implement a chatbot, for example. You can get a third-party solution to get yourself a chatbot quite easily and with cost effectively, and that's going to free you up a load of time and save you time, and obviously save you money as well on dealing with simple tasks. Or the AI document reader, for example. That's a problem that we've recognized from multiple MGAs that we talk to. When we talk to them, we say, well, what's slowing you down? What is it that would improve things for you? And that's something that they came up with. So that's something that we are actually working on at the moment, as it happens. But that is going to be a fairly kind of cost-effective, more out-of-the-box solution specific to MGAs. So it really depends on your processes and your products and what it is you're trying to achieve. But there's benefits for organisations of any size, I think.
Okay, and another question has just come in, referring to the first video. They say that unfortunately they can't see what the first video was demonstrating, because they're on a small screen. And would you be able to say more about it?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, the first video was basically demonstrating how you can build an insurance product quicker than you can today. So over the last 5 or maybe 10 years, there's a lot of providers out there have built these kind of low code or no code solutions, which enables you to build an insurance product much quicker than you used to be able to. It used to take months or even years to get an insurance product live, but now you can kind of do it in weeks or months. But using this technology of AI is actually can accelerate that even quicker. So there's no kind of manual data entry or dragging and dropping or anything like that. You will have access, or the technology will have access to data sets with kind of historic data sets and examples of previous products that have been built. So it can pull out all of that information using an algorithm, and basically you can ask it to build you an insurance product by just typing it into a chat box, essentially. We have kind of simplified it for the purposes of the video, but that's the concept, and that's how it will work.
Okay, and just another question from me, really, which is maybe a bit of an unfair one, but if you've got your crystal ball out, where do you see this going? Where do you see AI going in this sphere in, say, 5 years' time?
I think I can probably share a few words on that. I think, Tim, it's a very good question, and I think if we see the general pace of how technology has evolved over the last 10 to 20 years, I think it becomes more and more progressive over time. And, what is considered to be very normal today, 10 or 20 years ago, was, considered to be something that is, quite evolutionary or revolutionary, for example. A very good example of that is going from dial-up to going to fiber optic internet now. Fiber optic internet is nearly the normal for us, or high-speed internet is nearly the norm for all of us. So anything less than that, people start to get disgruntled that they've got slow internet. So, if you, going back to your question, it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but AI 5 years from now, where we've seen the kind of the consumer cases from ChatGPT, and now we're seeing the more kind of prevalent business cases that we're building as well at Inslee. A lot of these solutions that we are building today, instead of them being evolutionary or revolutionary, they will become the norm, I think, at least from my opinion. We're talking about, this product build, the insurance product builder today, which can be facilitated by a chatbot. In 5 years, that could be the new normal. The same for the document reader, ingesting all of those documents in, whether they're different formats, and having them in a format that suits you on the other side is or should be the normal in 5 years' time, because the speed of which the AI will actually process and progress this information will be quite quick as well. It will be using bigger data sets. It will be using larger data in general, which it will be able to kind of process, if you like. And that means quicker responses. It means better accuracy. And it just means overall benefits, I would say. So yeah, long-winded answer from my side, but I think in 5 years from now, it will become the new norm for a lot of us, and for MGAs, a couple of the solutions that we've showcased today should be the new norm. So yeah.
Terrific. Thanks, Hamid. So I think we'll close it there, as I've got no further questions. So just say thanks once again to both of you for your session, which has definitely been really valuable and eye-opening. So I appreciate that. You can reach Alex at the details that you can see on screen now, or if you prefer, contact me at tim.richards@mgaa.co.uk with any questions or for any introductions, and I'll be happy to pass these on. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Don't forget to provide your feedback. That does help us to continue to provide the best possible sessions for you. And I hope you all have a productive afternoon. So thanks again for joining us, and see you all soon.